to Shooting Womp Rats. I'm Daniel.
And in for Don, I'm Mike Fraely, who unfortunately Don is sick this week, so I'll be taking his spot in the co-host chair, and it's very comfy. Thank you for inviting me on, Daniel.
Welcome to the studio, Mike. Don, we believe, is under the effects of some rat ghoul-related disease. He is under imperial scientific study right now. So.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go questing for that serum for him, he could probably use it right about now.
I get the feeling like I've done that before.
Yeah, I can't figure out where.
And then there was a Twi'lek and a Wookiee.
There's always a Wookiee somewhere.
And now for the news. We're going to be doing things a little different today because Don isn't around, but he did leave us, and he bequeathed unto us his adventure seeds and his characters. So we'll be doing the announcements for that. Starting off with Adventure Seed Monday 54. The mission type is a Jedi storehouse. The mission terrain is a medium tech world. The mission complication is an unscrupulous smuggler. The mission opposition is an alien invasion force, and then there is no special hazard.
All right, and Adventure Seed Monday, number 55. The mission type is Eliminate an Enemy Unit. The mission terrain is a scrapyard, and very appropriately, the mission complication is a greedy merchant. The mission opposition is a space armada, and there is no special opposition for this Adventure Seed.
Of course, I take in the obvious Watto reference in there, greedy merchant plus scrapyard.
Yeah, mind tricks don't work on you, but maybe an enemy space armada might do something.
Character Tuesday 54 is Nid Nador. He's the head of an illegal information brokerage. He's willing to deal with any side in a conflict, or both if he can get away with it. Having many contacts at various levels of local government has allowed him to grow his organization rapidly. This has drawn the ire of several other illegal venturists, as well as a number of mutually beneficial allies. He prefers to work through his lieutenants when dealing with others, and he is one of the best slicers around. It's surprising that this isn't an area that his business ventures seem to gravitate. He's not bloodthirsty, but he is driven. Nix would prefer to broker deals to get what he wants. He's not above using leverage if the rewards are worth it.
All right, and Character Tuesday number 55 is Tanner Nixpa, a sentient, homeless vagabond. Nobody quite knows where he lives or where he came from, but he can be found around the starport most of the time, or at one of his many seemly cantinas. Some think him crazy, but if you can catch him at the right time and use the proper incentive, he is a font of local information. Able to blend into the surrounding with amazing skill, even those who have seen him have trouble remembering him for some reason. Tanner has a secret. He used to be a powerful Jedi. His connection is now tenuous at best, and he doubts himself, and he has done as much as possible using drugs and alcohol to deaden his connection to the Force. Often referring to his previous life in the third person, trying hard to pretend as though it was never him.
Hey, you want some death sticks?
No, you want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life. Rumor Wednesday 54. I heard tell there was an incident on this outpost where people are getting some sort of strange sickness. People start seeing the future, then after only a short while fall into a coma. If you ask me, it sounds like a tourist gimmick.
So did Don start seeing the future before he left the show?
That's a good question. I don't remember him making any mention of it. Maybe he was scared to.
Yeah. Well, we'll know when he goes into that coma. All right. Rumor Wednesday number 55. Someone has been telling me about a stopover last week at the Marquis of Levendal. He was close to being defeated by the Monarch, and yet today I hear there's a new influx of troops that no one knew he had. I heard it was mercenaries. Maybe Mandos.
Those Tapani.
Yeah.
Planet of the Week 54 is Lone. It's a terrestrial temperate planet with a Type 1 breathable atmosphere and heavy gravity. A planet of vast plateaus that's only 45% covered by water. It's home to 870,000 sentients and ruled by a military government. It has a galactic standard starport and tech level. Its main export is mercenary soldiers. Wow. With its with its heavy gravity and open areas, the government buys slaves and trains them as ground support troops. It kind of reminds me of something from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, what's funny is that this fits in pretty well with something that I'm developing for a side project that we're going to be talking about later on in the podcast. It's I may have to go back and make some changes. Yes, indeed. All right. Planet Thursday. Mina is a temporal terrestrial planet with a Type 1 breathable atmosphere and moderate hydrosphere. Its unique terrain is one of a flat, arid plain and large floating boulders, some many thousands of meters in diameter. At times, a number of these are connected by scaffolding and bridges to make large communities. A unique creature called the blatter is responsible for the floating rocks. Setting up large communities will honeycomb with the boulders, and these creatures will bloat with gas. When enough have gathered into the colony, the boulder will rise into the air. A single starport has only limited services. Home to 6.3 billion sentients, ruled by a militaristic government and feudal system. It has little off-world trade, being mostly an insular society, though it is well known for its manufacturing of blankets, carpets, and some clothes.
That is weird. So the cities are created by a bunch of creatures that blow themselves up and float.
Yeah. This sounds like something out of that old text game Starfall, but Starfall, Planetfall. Gosh, you got to go back to the Infocom days there.
Infocom. Man, I still have nightmares of being behind the monitor of my old C64, being a kid by myself in the middle of the night and playing Suspended. The buffet is stocked. I am smelling it. Mike, I think it's time to belly up.
All right, sounds good to me.
Our old editor, Adrian, is currently blogging about the Rebels television series from the standpoint of it being a D6 campaign. And he goes from character creation and works every episode like it was an adventure. It's actually fascinating to read. You can find his blog over at kippersandjam.wordpress.com.
Now, I haven't had time to check out his blog, but from all the things that I've heard about the Rebels cartoon, it sounds like a fantastic throwback to all the things that we loved about running D6 adventures. And I've thought to myself, because I don't have cable, so I haven't been able to watch it. It sounds to me like somebody is telling me about about a great series of RPG adventures. Mm-hmm. So I'm real excited to learn about this, and I'm definitely going to be checking that out.
John Fisto over in the Ranker Pit forums, he made a post about writing adventure hooks, and he's putting them into the form of tweets. His Twitter handle is SWRPG Adventures, all one word. And while you're checking out those adventure hooks, check out our Twitter. It's SWD6 Podcast. Now, I got to admit, these look like he's been writing them from thankfully they're system agnostic, but he looks really popular on the D20 area.
Well, the one thing about Star Wars Adventures is, they're Star Wars Adventures. I mean, I have run a good many of even my D6 adventures from flipping through some of the D20 books, through some of the Saga books, and even a recent series of adventures I'm running based on something from Enter the Unknown in the Murder Hobo system. Sorry, FFG system.
First step is admitting it, Michael. First step. The Re-Up Project. Michael Herman, we had him on the show a couple of episodes ago talking about this. It has finally been released. There is much
Yeah.
at least on our side, over a new quality fan-made product. And folks, this is quality. We're looking at a document that looks just like it was produced by West End.
Yeah, except for the fact that there is so much good material from after West End went belly up. I mean, they've got some prequel stuff in there, which I know there's some people not all that excited about the prequels, but we've also got a large swath of D6 gamers that utilize those stats, and there's so much from the expanded universe. There's a lot in that is pretty familiar to me. It's really gratifying to see how Michael and his team have integrated some of the materials from the conversion books, and those things are often tweaked. It's not a direct transcription all the time, but they used it like it was meant to be used. We put it out there. We didn't put our names on it, and so they took it, they integrated it. They said, this is Star Wars, but we're going to make our own changes, our own little twists where we see things need to be tweaked. And I think that they've done a fantastic job incorporating the fan material, the fan conversions, the official, and especially all of the official West End games optional rules, or at least the best of the optional rules. And it's all in one wonderfully massive tome, without being too overburdeningly large. And there's so much information to go over. I know that they've got some information that's still coming in over the potential errata, and they're still supporting the document. But this is a fantastic piece of fan editing, and it's an immense work, and it's incredible to see to see a team churn out something of this size.
You can find it here on their blog, sw3rded.wordpress.com. Speaking of Michael Herman, he is part of the editorial staff of Wild Space Magazine. And we could still use your help for submissions. Everybody, you've got until November 30th to get your character profiles, your art, your adventures, articles about the system. If there's something you want to get out there, we want to give you a chance to get it out. You've got until November 30th. We intend on releasing issue 1 sometime within the 1st of December.
All right. Yeah, I've got my article. It's actually right here on my desktop. So I'm working on mine. Hey guys, if you're working on any of yours, go ahead, send it in, and we're going to see if we can make this Wild Space Magazine all that it can be, because really a periodical dedicated to inspiring more RPG adventures set for Star Wars D6 is a good thing.
Absolutely. I know it's been a pipe dream of mine to have it in actual print, but I hope one day that I'll get it in print. But right now, I will take what I can get and let Wild Space be a digital document.
Baby steps, man. Baby steps.
Steps, yes. What about Bob? Golleman from the Rancor Pit proposes a campaign idea, and it's something that resembles Deep Space Nine before the Kardashians left. Now, for those of you who don't Star Trek, you don't grok it, Deep Space Nine is a series that was actually, to me, it epitomized the grittier side of the Federation. You've got a space station. You've got, at least in their storyline, the hostile forces recently abandoned it. But in the case of Golleman's idea, it's a star station that is going to be occupied by the Empire. And I like the idea.
Yeah, I was looking over this post, and though I didn't get a chance to contribute onto the thread, I've been reading over it. And it sounds like a fantastic inspiration for a setting. My only caution with this sort of space station-oriented series of adventures is don't fall into the same trap that D6-9 did in their early seasons of the show. and that is this set of adventures. Though there's plenty of opportunity here, it has the potential to stagnate if you keep things too closely tied to the station. Now, if you have away missions going off of the station, or suppose, for example, something breaks down, they can only find a part on a sister station that's been abandoned by going through this other abandoned sister station and whatever adventures you can have there, and on the way there and on the way back. Tie it around the station, but also don't be afraid to leave the station now and again, so you can have that diversity and that breathing room. But other than that, the things that he has up there, and also some GMing advice from Garkal also looks pretty sound. So this thread has some really interesting stuff in it.
Oh, absolutely. Another thing too, maybe would be to put the station somewhere, if not in a planetary system, maybe make it at the periphery of one, where you've got a system of planets. Even go so far as to maybe randomly generate a few. Give the players somewhere to go. Then there's plenty to do inside the station, but you want to leave all your options open.
Indeed.
And now we come to, I think, would be my best part of this discussion. I didn't know if we should have put this in the way of the Force or not, but Mike, you've been working on something called D6 Junior.
Yeah, I've been plugging away at this. It's been kind of a side project that started out with. It actually started out with a conversation I was having with, at the time, my first grader, and I was having a conversation with her teacher at a parent-teacher conference. And he said, what we really need to work on is her 3-digit math. We need a numeral plus numeral plus numeral. And if there's any way that we can make this fun, so that she could just see the numbers and have it, the site is there that 2 plus 4 plus 2 is 8. If we can get there, then that's great. And I'm thinking, making 3-digit math fun. You mean like 2d6 plus modifier? Yeah, I think I can handle that. And so that was the genesis of taking the Star Wars D6 system and slimming it way, way down, making it very concrete that a first grader can engage the story, can engage the pieces, and can engage a short 1-hour mission. And 1 hour can be a long time for a first grader. And make sure that we have an easy system. So what I've done is I've pared down our 6 attributes, and I've kept the attributes just as they are: the technical, the strength, the dexterity, the knowledge, the perception. And I've given them 3 to 4 skills each. Now that might be blaster, and that might be lightsaber or melee. Under perception, we might have hide and sneak combined as 1 skill. We might have, for strength, we'll have running and lifting. And what they have is just 2 dice for each of these skills. You never add a 3rd die, but what you add is a modifier. So you can have a 2d plus 1, or 2d plus 2, 2d, all the way up to 5 if they want to max out their character. And at character generation, I give them 3 pips, and they can add a +1 to each of those, to any of those skills. And every adventure, we advance another +1 in any of your skills. And I know that doesn't sound like a whole lot, just bumping it up 1. But when you look at the probability charts of what you could possibly roll on 2d6, adding +1 to move that from a 6 to a 7 really increases the probabilities a significant amount. And I'll be releasing something on probability charts and how we conduct this. And they also have a limited access to force powers. Now, the kids have absolutely loved this idea. We give them a grid map, and I've got some wonderful maps from mapsofmastery.com. Christopher West has done some work for the Star Wars miniatures game, and I have many of the miniatures maps. He also has done some recent work on space stations with his Distant Outposts he put on Kickstarter. And the kids are excited to see the maps come out because they know how movement works on a grid map. They know that they can move 5 spaces and then use a skill, or if they want to use a skill use of just use their running roll. If they can roll a 7 on their running, then they get to move 7 spaces. If they roll a 10, then they move 10. If my littlest one rolls a 14 on her force speed, then she gets to move 14 spaces. So this is something where they've gotten practical application of their math skills. When they roll their numeral dice and add their modifier, they're doing math just like the first grade teacher said, and they're having fun in a Star Wars universe. And it's been great for me. It's been great for them, and it's a great way to spend an hour.
That is great. The best part is the fact that you're getting such positive feedback from your play testing group, no less. When can we expect to see any documents about this?
Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. This time it will not be late. No, that's not going to happen. Honestly, the documents are in progress, not very far in progress, because a lot of it is just notes that I've had as I've been going along. And some of it is still in alpha, some of it is still in beta. The skill use that I could probably crank out if I was not working on something for Wild Space magazine. I would probably devote my free writing time to that. So once my Wild Space article is finished, I'll be putting some things together, and maybe we'll run it with Wild Space issue 2. Maybe I'll post it to the community. We'll see where things go. But after November, I'm gonna put some time into the D6 Junior, and in that time, I'm gonna see if I can get the starship combat down, because starship stats and starship movement, and also vehicle movement and vehicle spacing is really difficult on this scale of map. And once I get that past alpha, maybe I'll release that to a beta group, and you guys can tell me where it's broken, and you guys can give me suggestions, and we can build on this as a community.
Now, I'm sure you're trying to keep this as simple as you can. Another question that I had was, how do you handle damage scale?
Damage scale is something that's been mostly theoretical.
Okay.
Because each of the kids have 5 hit points, and I know that sounds pretty low, but anytime they're damaged by something of the same scale, it removes 1 hit point. And the reason why I use hit points is so I can hand them something physical and say, here are these glass beads. Here are 5 of them. Every time you lose one, you hand one to. Every time you get hit, you hand one to me. And because first graders are so, or at least my first graders, were so wonderfully fidgety, I have said to them, if you lose one for real, you lose one in the game.
Nice. Go ahead.
Well, the problem was that I got so used to saying that as I was handing them out last time, I flubbed up and told my youngest, if you lose one in the game, you lose one for real. And she said, Daddy, like, wait, no, that'll be character damage, not player damage.
Well, as I've announced previously, my 10-year-old has grabbed the hold of the revised and expanded book, and she started reading. So I'm really excited about seeing where you go with D6 Junior, seeing how I can implement it with her, and maybe use it as a working point toward actually getting her into the game itself.
Yeah, do it as a hybrid thing. Do it as a, if once I get this out there, I figure it's between you and your family how you apply this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the scale is something that is pretty concrete in the revised and expanded. Pretty straightforward in the second edition. But the D6 Junior, that's something that I'm figuring that you basically have to hit a 12 or above on 2 dice. to even damage something of a higher or lower scale. And if this is theoretically, I haven't tested this out yet, but if something speed or scale hits a character, then it loses 2 points. And it has a difficulty of 12 because it's harder to hit something that's so much smaller. And if something character scale tries to hit, or speeder scale tries to hit a starfighter, or starfighter tries to hit a capital, then you have to get a 12 because, well, while it's easy to hit it, it's hard to hit it in such a way that it will actually do damage. So if you get your 12 on the 2 dice, then you take away 1 hit point or one bead from the larger scale item. So we'll see how that goes in playtesting, and if you find a better solution, do let me know, because that's one of the real thinkers for me.
Okay. You may remember from last episode I posed a question about what happened during an adventure. A player was restraining an NPC, and he questioned the NPC whether or not, if he would let him go, his intentions would remain neutral. The NPC said yes, and the player wanted to know if he could roll his perception to determine whether or not the NPC was lying to him. It threw me for a loop because, well, I didn't expect to use perception in that manner. I posed the question, and I got the answer actually from Rules as Written. Will, in the Ranker Pit, gave us the answer after I put the question there. He says it's at the top of the revised and expanded page 56. That a player can choose to just let the GM's con roll determine how convincing the NPC is to the PC, or the player can roll perception or con opposed to the NPC con to attempt to determine if the NPC is lying or not.
Yeah, well, good on Will for pointing that out. I will say this: Will knows his stuff, so kind of not surprised to see that come out of him. But thank you for that, Will.
Another thing that came out of last episode was we started a discussion on missile combat during space fighting, or actually atmospheric as well. Anything flying, let's put it that way. On whether or not you were warned, or if there was some sort of missile lock or missile launch warning. Now, we had Mike play X-Wing.
That's called field research. That's not playing. That's field research.
And what did you come up with?
Well, what I came up with is it just so happened that the X-Wing game, X-Wing and TIE Fighter, were just recently re-released through GOG.com. This is not supposed to be a plug for them, but it's kind of turning into that anyway. And for $10, you can download X-Wing. You get the original 1994 game, and the 1998 update. And I was playing through the 1998 update, and there I was hard at work trying to trace down some TIE interceptors and blast them to bits when I got a missile lock warning. And then I got a message from my R2 that there was an incoming missile. Do I wish to target? And once I hit my spacebar, it did indeed target that missile. And so I was dodging that thing for a good several minutes. So, the X-Wing did it. X-Wing did give you the warning that it was launched. Do we do so in the game? That's going to be between you and your players. That's going to be your own individual GM decision. But one thing that I've noticed is that just about every time there's a starfighter combat question in GMing, what we do is we come back to some level of common shared understanding. And since nobody's ever actually been in the cockpit of an X-Wing, but we've all played this X-Wing, or at least a lot of us have played this X-Wing game. It's worth taking into consideration, since your players will be familiar with this.
Another thing too is that if you do decide to go this route and go with being notified of missile launches, note that he said that his astromech informed him of the missile launch, and that not all ships have astromechs.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that I was actually on an A wing at the time. Do A wings have the astromechs?
No.
No, they've got the embargoed computers. So
Mhm.
that was, it came through as an incoming message from the astromech, even though there was the game blooper of not actually having an astromech there. So tough call. Tough
All
call.
right, now for the movie of the week. I'm going with, of all things, Anchorman 2. You've got
All right.
you've got the beer and pretzels adventure right there in your hands. The players are part of the HoloNet news crew, and their bumbling adventures through the streets of Coruscant.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I see that coming together. I was skeptical at first, but there you go. My movie of the week is actually based on one of my favorite novels, even if it isn't one of my favorite movies. It's Dune. My idea here is a rebel recruitment cell finds itself stranded on a harsh, imperial-controlled world. The Empire is occupying the planet, tolerating its extreme environment only because of an abundance of a rare raw material. The Empire has disenfranchised the planet's native population, and the indigenous people have a highly complicated culture oriented around surviving with such harsh conditions, and they're also fierce and accomplished fighters. The party must make contact with the people, navigate their customs, with sometimes deadly consequences, and persuade them to unite against the Empire under an organized banner.
I love it. Now, I have one thing to say there.
Mm-hmm.
Deep.
Fantastic.
I'm a huge Frank Herbert fan. That was a good pick. I like it. So in closing, if you've got anything you want to send us, any questions, comments, queries, posers, the whole nine yards, you can get us on Twitter at SWD6Podcast. You can email us at shootingwomprats@gmail.com. There's a subreddit out there, SWD6, but I don't get to manage it so much. But it is sitting there. Maybe I can find a nice community manager that'll help me out. So on behalf of Shooting Womp Rats, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Mike.
And may the force be with you.